So it's very wet outside and sort of gross. So skating isn't really an option this weekend. But I'm gonna take the camera here and we're gonna go around the neighborhood and see if I can show you something interesting. Maybe I can take some interesting photos. See if we can have a little bit of fun that way. I think it's been like 6 months since I've been into the center, but it's a Saturday and it's stormy outside, so this might be a good day to be able to take you all and go see it. They've made hotel rooms like this out of the little houses next to bridges. I'm not sure why anyone would want to stay here. One nice thing about Amsterdam is there's a lot of these little alleys like this that look very nice. People live there. Maybe they even decorated or something. And if we are going to venture into the center, we need coffee from my favorite coffee place in the West first. Not only do they know what they're doing when it comes to making coffee and caring about their customers, they also care about where they get their coffee from. And so the stuff that they have right there is things that they've actually gone and directly negotiated deals with farms in the countries making the coffee, as opposed to getting it from these big suppliers like most people do. In addition to nice looking alleyways off to the side, you'll see a lot of little places like this where people have set up a garden or at least a little place to chill, sort of a mini park. As we go down the street closer to the center, we get into area with a lot more junk food and pot places. These trash cans were relatively new before the pandemic, where you don't need to touch them at all in order to throw away your stuff. Especially trying to operate the camera, it gets pretty cold on the hands. Fortunately, I caved and bought some actual gloves this year. Especially the center is full of these places that are super duper crooked and kind of look like they might fall apart any given second. You'll also see lots of these in corners, which are meant to discourage people from peeing here, but it doesn't discourage dogs, unfortunately. Amsterdam is pretty famous for its red light district, but there's actually windows for sex workers all over the city, not just in the red light district, like here. We also have plenty of places like this where you can pay tons of money to get American junk foods. Some of those cool looking alleyways are actually gated off like this because that's actually the entrance to somebody's house down there. A lot of shops did not survive the pandemic, and some of them are now boarded up like this, while others are now for rent or for sale. This is the center of the center, Dam Square. Normally this would be swarming with tourists and people on their way to something, people feeding the birds, random people posing for photos. The pigeons are apparently still waiting for those tourists and are totally fine to just hang out here. You can practically step on them. Also, fun fact, those fancy new trash cans are actually just metal covers over regular trash can. I'm impressed with these tight places they're able to get construction equipment in this city. And here is the famous condomery. They have novelty condoms as well as regular ones, and they will discreetly deliver. I was really surprised to see there are actually a few tourists about as well. Moving right along. Through this gateway looking area here, we get to the red light district. I think it's the first time, even in a morning, that I've been here that it doesn't smell like beer and urine. You might have heard that Amsterdam is constantly shrinking the number of windows in the city and replacing with things like this shop. Even though prostitution is legal in the city, a ton of politicians are still kind of against it and sort of want to indirectly work against it. For example, this shop here is now for voting. And also this coffee place next to where windows are. And also this studio space, whatever that's for. They even put in a more formal public toilet, which I guess also works for women, which is nice. Moving on from the red light district, Amsterdam has a museum for basically everything. Some parts are a little too crowded this morning, so I turned around here and went back the other way. One other nice thing the city's been doing is reducing the number of parked cars in the city. So this planter here is taking up a space a car would take normally. Down here we have Rembrandtplein, normally a place for drinking and partying, and it's now pretty much like this all the time. Here we see Rembrandt himself posing in front of a Booking.com building, one of many they have in the city now. And this family felt like riding a scooter together. This poor person was so sad that they weren't able to make physical contact with anybody, they literally turned to stone. And we make it to Leidseplein, normally full of tourists and people going shopping, and also street performers, and now it is empty. And normally just over here, this area would be covered in bikes and mopeds. You can tell that some skateboarders have taken advantage of the fact that this is now open, because this does make a pretty nice ledge. And here's the Apple store with security guards out front and not a lot of lights on, making it look really suspicious. From here we'll venture out west to a place I've only had lunch at, I think, like once in the last year. Feels a bit more crowded out here in the west than it did in the center even. This place is really great for lunch if you like Korean food, and I'm glad I came. But now I'm gonna get out of here and go home. So hopefully you like that tour of the center. It's probably going to be a while before I go back there, and I'm not sure if this kind of video was actually super great, but I thought it was worth giving it a try. So thanks for watching all the way this far, and hopefully you're having a good weekend as well, and we'll be back next time.